if you own this house and it was worth $2.5 million, would you sell it and buy Bitcoin? Or would you do it like my brother and squeeze out a rental engagement over the next 3 or 4 years? I'd love to know your answer. Do you squeeze this for lease or do you sell it for Bitcoin? Come on in. This is on roughly 1 acre. It's 5,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms, awesome theater room. This is really the piece that I love. We've got a basketball court here, professional basketball court, lit at night, and a cool little pool. This is all part of Fort DeSoto. This is the last property in Pinellas County. And then you're just in the millions and millions of acres of mangroves, Fort DeSoto, the whole island area, and hundreds of beaches, rated some of the best beaches in the United States, by the way. So this is this little abode, and I'm gonna do an experiment with you guys as to how I see real estate, look at real estate versus Bitcoin. Come on in and let's take a look at how the math works. So I paid $1.7 million for this. It's probably worth $2.5 million. Bitcoin's price today is $41,000 per Bitcoin. Let's call the rent $10,000 a month, okay? And let's assume that I own this property outright, that I don't have any debt on it. Even that I don't have any debt on it, I still need to say that the $1.7 million that I paid 2 years ago, by the way, Bitcoin's price back then, I could have probably bought Bitcoin for $25,000, okay, when I was buying this house, okay, and I think that's really important. 25 into 2 million would be about 80 Bitcoin, okay, so that was 80 Bitcoin at the time. Today it would be 40 Bitcoin. So has this house gone up in price? In US dollars, it's gone up. In Bitcoin value, I would say the house is going down in value. Right? I can buy less Bitcoin today than I could 2 years ago. So if I look at 8% as a normal interest rate, I've got to look at the last 2 years of that 1.7 million. It's $160,000, give or take, 2 years in a row. And interest, had I had a debt, I would have paid at least that. But it's also my avoided cost. I should be able to make a yield on this 1.7 million, $320,000 over 2 years, right? That's not going to happen though. See, this is what I will build. I will build the case that when I bought this in 2021, okay, that once the market moved, because I bought it right, this is 2023, I have made the most money I'm going to make on this house. Like, I made 800 grand, okay? The problem is, I have not sold it, so it's all paper. I haven't made 800 grand, but my position is I have made the most on this investment that I'm ever going to make. So if I've made the most amount of my money here, why wouldn't I look at, and this is the mistake I think real estate investors make, especially when they're talking about investments with their home. I think if this was my primary home, it would not be an investment. It would be my primary home. Once I have made the vast amount of money on a home, there comes a time when the longer I hold it, the worse my return becomes, right? Do you agree with that? If I could have taken 800 grand 2 years ago or a year ago, put that profit, I would have paid a 30% cap gain, call it. So I'd have paid $240,000 in taxes. And I'm left with $560,000 in profit, okay? What is that worth, okay? In Bitcoin terms today, that's worth, we got 12 Bitcoin, okay? 12 Bitcoin. So I'm gonna erase all this. and start with the 12 Bitcoin. If I take that 12 Bitcoin at $41,000, okay, and I hold it for 3 years, okay? Now I'm saying I can't hold my house for 3 years. Me holding this house for another 3 years, we agreed it's going to cost me $180,000 in interest, effective interest rate, which would be 180 times 3 is 540. $540,000 on top of the 1.7 I have in it. I'm at 2.3 million, and I told you earlier the house is probably only worth 2.5 to 2.3. Why I'm going to just sit here and wait? Wait for what? The housing market to improve? I've already made a bunch of money on the house in relative terms. If I take the 2.5 million that I have in the house, and I deploy that into Bitcoin. I know I talked about 12 Bitcoin up here, but if I took the full amount of money, and I would have 80 Bitcoin, okay? And 3 years, what does 80 Bitcoin have to do to minimally improve where I am right this second? If we, oh, by the way, ETF, okay, is getting approved, and we have the halving. So sometimes in April, that's 6 months from now, so 4 months from now, sometimes 4 months from now, there's going to be a halving. Every time we've had a halving, the price goes up. So let's assume that our boundary for pricing, if it's 41, let's say I think we have seen the lows for the year. Let's say that the low is going to be 33 again, that I'll have the ability at some point in the next 4 months to buy at 33, maybe at 50, okay? Somewhere in that band. At 50, at $50,000 a Bitcoin, this is $4 million already, okay? At 33 grand, let's say I lose 8 grand, okay, in paper, because I'm not selling the Bitcoin, but I lose 8 grand. I buy it at 41, I take that $2.5 million, I buy it at 41, and it goes to 33. I've lost $8,000 on 80 Bitcoin, $640,000 loss, okay? I think that is my downside, okay? That's my downside. On a profit I've already made of over 800 grand. So, but the upside, okay, now what's the difference between this real estate and Bitcoin as a real estate play? First off, I don't have to fix Bitcoin. Like, I have to move all these cables. See these cables down here? I got to move them. It's going to cost me something to move them. Okay, somebody's going to come in here and they're going to go, gosh, I don't like the silver on this oven. I need a new oven, okay? Shit breaks. I've got to pay taxes. If I don't pay the taxes on this house, I do not own this house. The state of Florida will come and grab it. If there's a leak in the roof, which there's not, it's an awesome roof, I have to fix the roof. I have to provide insurance, wind insurance, flood insurance. I got to fix the basketball court when it goes bad. What happens when the pool has a pump problem, right? Bitcoin has none of that. By the way, if I wanted to move this product, let's say that you came to me tomorrow and said, hey, I need $2.5 million. I have the best deal in the world. It's like a 300% return in 3 months. Guess what? I have $2.5 million here, but it's not liquid. It will take me 3 months to close the deal. Bitcoin, liquid. $3.5 million, I can liquidate $3.5 million worth of Bitcoin so rapidly and have it available within 2 minutes. That, to me, is massively powerful. I don't even think the price in Bitcoin is built in to have that type of liquidity. I maintain that Bitcoin is the second most liquid asset, maybe the most liquid asset in the world, second only to US dollars, which I don't even think is an asset, but it pretends and acts like an asset that's highly, highly liquid. You would most certainly trade it with me. Probably more liquid than Bitcoin at this point. What do we have here? Let's summarize. It's illiquid. I can't move it easily. I have to pay the taxes, otherwise they come take it away from me. I have to make sure the post office and the mailbox and everything's all set up and the title's set up and the maintenance and the house, the roof's working and there's power here and there's Wi-Fi and there's water, and I have none of those problems with Bitcoin. I've already achieved the most I'm probably going to achieve in profitability on this property. This property also, over 20 years, let's think 20 years, this property will erode in value over 20 years. Okay, it may inflate the price in dollars, but it's going to erode in value. The wear and tear after 5, 10, 15 years, you have to continue to invest money in keeping that infrastructure up, just like a bridge. So I have this property, it's not very liquid, it's maxed out its top value. I could rent it to Greg or Bob or somebody, but then what? I've got a 2-year, 3-year lease. Hopefully they pay me. I now have credit exposure to that human being. I have health exposure to that human being. What if his wife doesn't like it here? What if she gets measles and she doesn't like the Florida sun? I mean, there's so many different variables into renting. This is why what my brother does on multi-dwelling is really, really smart. You know, he goes and buys a building, 300 people, and if he loses 3 tenants, it's less than 1%, okay? It's not a big deal. I rent here because the wife gets measles. Dude, it's 1 for 1. They leave, I have a problem. They don't pay me, I have a problem. In fact, if they don't pay me and they stay here, I have an even bigger problem. None of that happens with Bitcoin. None of that happens with Bitcoin. And we look at the last 5 years. Start over? Yeah. So if we do the analysis and we just look at the history of the last 5 years on Bitcoin, Bitcoin has gone from, well, it's a 600% return, I think 590% return at today's price of 41,000. Let's assume that the 41,000 doesn't do 500% or 600%. Let's assume that it does half of what it did in the past 5 years and the prior 5 years to that. Let's just assume it does 1/2 of the last 5 years, which would be 300%. Massive, massive increase in value on an asset never seen on this planet before that has a finite supply, cannot be accelerated. That is a massive issue. You cannot accelerate the production or the amount of new issued Bitcoin into the market. Unlike crude oil, unlike if these housing prices continue to go up, they'll build houses forever. Most everything that's available on this planet can be accelerated in volume if you raise the price. Bitcoin does not happen. So we got $40,000 price. We have a 300% increase. Okay, that's $120,000. So over 5 years, at 80 Bitcoin, that was the math we used, $2.5 million. At 40 grand, that's 80 Bitcoin. 80 Bitcoin at 120,000 is $10 million. Is this house ever going to be worth $10 million? Okay, the property's worth $1 million, but is the whole thing going to be worth 10? I can't see that day. Okay, so I look at that and go, wow, my downside on 80 Bitcoin is 30 grand, $2.5 million. Isn't that interesting? Roughly. And my upside may be 300%. This is my point. When you buy an asset right, holding on to it for a longer period of time, once you can get the maximum return for it, your return actually starts to fall the longer you hold on to it. I've held on to this property too long. I should have converted this a year and a half ago, which makes me think then I have so much going on in my life that I just have not put attention on this. But when I do the math and realize, hey, this is a $10 million decision I'm making. And if I continue to hold on to this property and don't convert it to Bitcoin, I'm literally making a $7 million decision, because I think this will most certainly do a 300%, Bitcoin will do a 300% increase over 5 years. I would bet, well, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I would bet a lot of money on it. And like, I haven't been in this home in 2 months. This shows me when I do the math, if I just do the math and get out of all the emotional stuff, It is a no-brainer for me to liquidate this house this afternoon. I should probably be calling my real estate agents up and saying, hey, let's reduce the price. Let's get some more people in here. Let's dump this property so I can move it into a better performing asset. So that's the way I look at a home. Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck with your decisions.